So how's everyone this morning?
Really good idea.
Who knows about product market fit? Put your hands up in the air. Or no. Seriously, okay, this is gonna be fun. So I'm Tiago, I'm 31 years old, and I'm sometimes called an entrepreneur, among other things. And but my favorite passion is actually creating stuff that doesn't exist. That's what I best describe. So this is a Black Friday store. You know what Black Friday is, I imagine. And when I was 8 years old, I came from a family of entrepreneurs. And my dad, when I was 8 years old, brought me to a store opening in a big store in downtown Lisbon. And I was inside the window, and I remember looking outside with the door still shut, and this looked like that. So you had hundreds of people outside the store waiting to come in for the store to open. And for a long time during my childhood, I thought this was the rule and not the exception. Like, you open a business and people immediately come. You build it and they come. So that's what I thought. It turns out I was completely wrong. And because the unfortunate truth is 99% of businesses actually fail. You probably know this as well as me. And the main reason is not the founder disputes, it's not the team, it's not the lack of money or the lack of timing, no. It's because businesses have a really hard time actually finding customers and revenue. So customers bring in revenue so you can pay the bills. Okay? That's the main reason businesses fail. So why does this happen? Do you have any, I like 3 answers from the crowd with suggestions on why this happened.
Why business fit?
Yeah.
Poor market fit.
Poor market fit.
Too much confidence.
Okay.
Not solving a problem.
Not using the proper channel.
All true answers. Exactly. And to highlight the typical startup founder story, this happened to me a lot of times, but this is an extreme example of what happens almost 98% of the time. So 3 first-time founders meet up. They have an amazing idea that they're going to change the world with, and they want to build a product, okay? And they are so ready to quit their jobs because they're so right about that, so they start building the product, okay? And they actually read some books about lean methodology, you know, lean startup, Eric Ries and whatnot. And they come to a choice. Either take the red pill or the blue pill. The blue pill is actually going to the lean approach. Going through the books, doing customer validation, as Philippe is always talking about. Actually interviewing the customers, trying to understand if they're solving a problem. Or take the red pill, which is solving your own issue. And be arrogant enough, okay, we know about what the market wants, we just have to build it, and they will come. And 99% of the time, they take the fucking red pill. So they spend another 6 months just building the product, that perfect product that's gonna solve the world's needs. And they finally launch the product, and hooray, 100 users sign up. We're talking about web here, web or mobile. And they immediately think, oh my God, we're going to be so rich. This is going so well. So the next question is, let's start monetizing. No, how do we get more users? So we need to hire a VP of marketing or a VP of sales to help us bring up more our user number. But we ran out of money during the 6 months while building the products and doing everything. So no worries. We'll just go to a bunch of VCs or angels and raise up a bunch of capital just to actually hire this VP of sales. 6 months go by. Doing fundraising is a completely full-time job, and they happen to raise $500,000. Hooray, this is a huge achievement. We just lost 20% of our company. Don't worry. Let's announce it on TechCrunch. And they launched launch it on TechCrunch. 10,000 users sign up the next day, and oh my God, they're gonna be so rich. This is going so well. So what's the next step? Let's hire a CTO and build a team of software developers. And actually, Christine is gonna talk about this, which is the first step that founders do when they have a new fundraising round, is just hire completely. So 6 months go by, and they're starting to ask some questions, which is, why isn't our revenue growing? Why aren't our customers coming back? And why our ads are not converting? We're spending tens of thousands in dollars on ads and nothing works. Does this sound familiar? Yeah. This happened to me a couple of times. a bit too late in the process to actually know that I was doing something wrong. So in summary, the problem is most founders, they like to create. They see a problem in the world, and their immediate reaction to that is, I want to create a solution for that. And they don't step back and actually look at the big picture first. You get stuck in optimizing features. So, oh my God, this feature has to be 10% better. We have to increase our funnel, our acquisition to activation funnel by 10%. And they get stuck in this loop without actually bothering to see if their product actually solves a problem, and is that problem worth solving in the first place. So what is not product market fit? It's poor conversions, no word of mouth, growth doesn't seem to be doing anything. To close the sales takes a very, very long time, and the biggest problem from my experience is users churn a lot. So churn is they don't come back. And for me, that's a bad business. When you build a business, you sell it for the first time and the user doesn't come back, it means they don't really like your product that much. What it is, in definition by Steve Blank, it's the degree to which your product satisfies a strong market demand. So you build something that customers terribly want. Okay? But Mark, you see, one of my most favorite people I have in Silicon Valley has this amazing saying. It's when customers are buying or using the product as fast as you can build it, or usage is growing as fast as you can actually add more service. So this is the real definition of product market fit. When you build something and you cannot cope up with the demand. This is like the dream scenario for every entrepreneur. So, and there are actually several degrees of product market fit. Level 1, you have some sales, which I assume this is a scale-up event, so most of you have some degree of scale, so I expect that you are at least level 1. Level 2, 50% of your customers come back, which is pretty good. And the ultimate level is level 3, which is 100% of your customers, or very close, come back. So you have close to 0% churn or negative churn, which is rare, but when it happens, it's awesome. Yeah. So the big question in my talk is based on this. How do you get from level 1 of actually having some degree of sales to actually having the perfect products that your customers keep coming back? That's the big secret. And I don't like giving silver bullets, but the most important thing here is nailing a niche. Because the problem is most entrepreneurs love solving the whole big problem immediately. And it's really, really hard to actually solve a problem for a lot of people. And I'll give you a concrete example right now. So how many of you know a company called ConvertKit? No. So ConvertKit was founded by a guy called Nathan Barry, and he started the company on his own, no fundraising whatsoever. A very small team, very lean, and he now has 20 employees, all working remotely. He started this company about 5 years ago. And how did he manage to grow the company from $5,000 a month to almost $1 million a month? All remote, 20 employees, no fundraising. This is crazy. This is extremely rare to happen. And I actually been following this company very closely through a long time, and it's extremely impressive. And they also managed to lower the churn since September 2014 from around 40% to 8.7%, which is nearly perfect. I think the reason here, as marketing machine also says, is there are two phases in each company: before product market fit and after product market fit. So when ConvertKit launched, and I knew ConvertKit when it launched back then, they wanted to do every single thing. So their vision was, we're going to try and simplify email marketing. MailChimp is too complex, SendGrid is too technical, and we're going to try and create a simplified version for everyone that uses that sends emails. And their product is going to be able to simplify the whole process, so automating emails, sending HTML emails, text emails, whatever. And their acquisition strategy was content marketing for people that send email. So basically creating a lot of blog posts every month in the hopes to attract people from other companies like MailChimp or whatever. But they very soon realized that they were tackling too big of a market to actually grow. So they changed their perspective completely. And they said, okay, now we're going to only focus on one customer archetype, which is bloggers. There's not a big product for bloggers yet. And what they did is actually talk to the bloggers and ask them, what are the most important features that you guys value? And they completely changed their strategy. So their positioning is transformed to email marketing for creators, bloggers. Product, it was only specific features that bloggers valued, and the acquisition was direct sales. So they knew exactly which customers to go after. So they didn't do content marketing in the hopes that people showed up. They started actually talking to bloggers individually. And I don't know if you know about this. This is from the book. This describes about crossing the chasm. And the chasm is between the early adopters and the mass adoption series. So, and believe me, ConvertKit is still in the chasm. So it didn't yet cross to the majority. Majority is when you actually go after the whole market. Right now, ConvertKit is still in the first phase, so which is amazing to see the amount of growth at that stage. So it has a lot of room to grow. So breaking down these steps, how do we actually get to product market fit in reverse engineering what ConvertKit do? Find a really small niche, analyze if the market is worth it, talk to the bloody customers, build something for those customers, measure and repeat. This sounds very familiar if you come from the lean startup revolution, but this is extremely important. I did this mistakes a lot of times of not following this. So let's break it down. Let's follow this step by step. First, find a niche. Who can tell me what a niche is? Anyone? Okay. Who can tell me which market are you guys doing? You.
In SMS market. So
SMS market.
So only to business.
Okay. So how big is that market?
It's pretty big. It's pretty big. But okay, but I'm actually in a niche because I don't solve all the communications problems of a client. I'm only solving the automated and marketing communications in SMS.
So your target market is automated SMS.
Yeah, I can say.
Okay. So the total available market for you is every single SMS marketing tool, right? Or everyone that sends SMS?
Everyone has SMS.
Okay. What's your serviceable available market? So the in-between market. How can you further segment that market?
Well, we can narrow it down to retail, healthcare institutions, and software companies.
Okay, let's choose retail. And in the retail, your target market is?
The largest biggest companies like largest retailers in Portugal.
So basically, from his example, he narrowed the market from like possibly 10 million people or 100 million people or whatever to 10 million to 1 million, which is a lot more specific. Because the product he's going to build is not going to be solving all the problems in the total available market. He's just solving the problems of that target market, the little yellow box. So choose a really, really small market to start with. Analyze if the market is worth it. So always choose a market that's growing, number one, and a market that's big enough for you to enter. So if you choose, I don't know, you know the cupcake revolution? You know, there's a lot of cupcake stores in the US. So this was a big boom, but then there was a spectacular crash because of the oversupply. So don't choose a market that's now diminishing. Choose a market that's actually growing and has space for you to come in. And the second and the most important thing is, can you and your team solve a problem in that market? So this is a table, I don't know if everyone can see this. This is a table that comes from a great book called Lean B2B. And it basically calculates the risk of your startup failing just by analyzing the team. So you need actually three things, optimally. You have domain expertise, solution expertise, and most important, passion. And you can see how everything changes. So domain expertise is, does the team have sufficient knowledge about the industry they're pursuing? So I don't know shit about cupcakes, so I wouldn't go into cupcakes. Because there's a lot of better people than me actually knows about cupcakes. But I know a lot about education, so that takes yes. Solution expertise. Basically, can the team build a solution to solve that problem in the market? If you have a CTO or a technical co-founder in the web or mobile space, you need to pick the spots. But the most important one is passion. Because everything is great when everything is going well, but the minute you run into the first challenge, if you don't have passion to actually persevere, that's when everything breaks down. So it's really important that we have all the three boxes: domain expertise, solution expertise, and passion. Number three, talk to your customers. So after you spoke, you pick the market, you know that you can build a solution for that market, let's start talking to customers. And what do I mean by talking to customers? I'm going to give you an example of a story. So in the beginning, my first company was a company called Songwise. And Songwise was made by me and my other two founders. And we wanted to create a marketplace for musical advice. Okay, so basically, I'm an upcoming musician, and I want to learn music from the pros. And we created a marketplace to actually solve that need. The problem is, because we were very selfish, we didn't talk to any customers. By the time we launched, we did about $100 in revenue in around 3 months, after we raised $50,000. So that was terrible, because we forgot to actually talk to the customers in the beginning. We actually talked to the customers afterwards, and we learned that musicians don't really have a lot of money to spend on education when they already know how to play music. It's a hobby for them, it's not a pain. So we actually failed that startup and started something completely new again, because we actually started talking to customers. So the next industry we picked was still in education, but we saw there was something big happening in coding education. So how to learn how to code. And I was in San Francisco back then, and I was working my ass every single night, and I couldn't find a solution of what we were gonna do. We had like 1 month runway of cash. We were 3 people. We were 1 year in, completely desperate. And one day, I was going Ubering from my office to home, and I actually started talking to the Uber driver. So, how's Ubering going for you? Oh, I'm only here to pay for my coding bootcamp. To pay for your coding bootcamp. But how much does that cost? $17,000. I said, holy shit. That's a lot of money. Yeah, but there's not a lot of options. Like, the best bootcamps cost all around this place. So we immediately knew that there was an opportunity here. So instead of actually building immediately, no, I started talking to a lot of people that were in the same position, either Ubering or doing a side job just to pay for their coding bootcamp and actually understand their needs. And we came up with an idea, which was, so the main problems we had to solve was, first, it was really expensive. 2, online courses would normally kind of shitty, and they're all self-service, so there were no mentorship. And number three, they were normally very boring, so they didn't have a lot of action. So you go in and not a lot of stuff was happening. So we had an idea for something called CodePlace, which was my next company. And CodePlace teaches you how to code by helping you make real apps. So learn web development by building Facebook, building Marketplace, whatever. But we didn't build a whole product then. We just built a simple landing page with a normal value proposition with a reserve now button. We launched that page, and in the first week we did $1,500. Mind you that the past 3 months we did $100 in the previous company. So there was something there. So we knew that there was a validation here, and I'm going to continue my story with this example. We knew there was a validation here, so we decided to actually build a platform. So I went back to Portugal. We spent 1 month in my farmhouse just building all the promised content, and we launched. And we made $100,000 in the first 3 weeks, which was amazing. And then we measured, basically, how can we improve on the success? So in every company, you need to have something called a KPI, so a key performance indicator. For us, it wasn't sign-ups. It was either student completion, so how many numbers of students actually started the course and then finished it. And then number two, most importantly, is revenue. How does that translate into revenue? So we managed to measure these two KPIs very, very closely. But for any industry, this is completely agnostic. You need 5 steps. Acquisition, so the number of users that comes and sees your product. Activation, the number of users that actually sign up and show interest to your product. Retention, how many of them actually come back? Revenue, the most important, how many of them pay? And referral, how many of them actually tell others about your products? This shows how much people actually love the products. Only after you have those 5, you can actually consider to know that you have product market fit, especially the last one. If people open-heartedly talk about your product to others, you'll definitely have product market fit. And until you have this completely right, you have to repeat and repeat and repeat. We were lucky enough we got it right by the second attempt, but normally this takes like 3 or 4 attempts. So how do you know you have product market fit? Well, the customers are buying the product as fast as they can make it, and money is piling up, and you cannot actually control the amount of it. You're hiring sales and customer support as fast as your customers come in, and reporters are finally calling in to actually know what the hell is going on. So this is, for me, the real definition of product market fit. Now, go build something people want. Thanks, guys. Any questions?
Half an hour for questions. What do you think about using friends as customers to know if your product is...
Bad idea. So, because friends are always going to be nice to you. They're very afraid to hurt your feelings, so they're going to give you always a biased opinion. Or family, friends or family, FFF, friends, fools of families. So don't ask them. Ask a complete stranger. So I'll give you an example. I had an idea for a product. I've been doing consulting after I sold CodePlace, and I had an idea for products regarding the auto industry. And I did a keynote presentation, a 10-slide of what I thought that product would look like. And I drove like 100 miles to a good dealership, and I knocked on the door and I asked, I said, can I speak to the CEO? I said, who the hell are you? I want to help him make more sales. And when they hear this, they'll let you in. And he didn't mind speaking to me for 1 hour and give me feedback on that. That's the kind of people you're aiming for. Something that you don't know, but has a lot of industry expertise and give you good opinions about what you should do. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you actually measure referrals? In our case, I'm managing TapMyBack. TapMyBack is a software for real-time feedback and recognition at companies, and we don't want to be very intrusive in our customers' life because they have their work. But at the same time, we really want to be aware on how they love the product and so on. So how did you find like a good way for you to measure referrals, or what kind of routines you do?
If you're in the web or mobile, it's really, really easy. Do you know a company called Mention?
Yeah.
So yeah, Mention tracks whenever your company is mentioned somewhere. So you don't need to do link tracking, hardcore link tracking or affiliate tracking. You just configure Mention to the free account. I think they still have a free account.
Yeah.
And just monitor how many times that actually your brand gets mentioned and kind of figure out where it came from. I think that's the easiest one.
Good. Yeah,
But normally, most companies like to do a real good tracking is when you sign up, just ask them where they come from. Referral, direct, search.
That's good.
That's the most, yeah. I guess everyone has product market fit.
For someone who is preparing a pitch deck at this point, so as an idea, starting to validate his or her idea, and wants to build a pitch deck where he needs to understand the problem-solution fit. Not the market fit, but the problem-solution fit. What would be your tips to convert that product-solution fit into what is supposed to be the good market or product-market fit?
So the problem-solution fit is the step before product market fit.
Exactly. Yes. How to do the one to already try to see the other.
How many customers did you talk to?
Like 3 or 4 so far.
Is it B2B or B2C?
B2C.
B2C. So you need to talk to at least 100
Okay.
to have a statistical significance of whether or not you're going into the right place. But how are you talking to your customers? Manually or
Online, yeah, manually.
online? Have you tried having conversations with them, like buying them a coffee or Skype calling them?
Most of them are like spread in the world.
Yeah, just have a Skype call because there's like 99% of your language is body language, so you actually capture a lot of the things that you can't capture through email.
Okay.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But if you know some tips on how to build a good problem solution fit, do you provide any example or from your past experience or other colleagues' experience? Tough question.
Yeah, brain check.
Okay.
Think about it. Yeah.
Okay, let's solve afterwards.
Another issue we have in our club, it's not really an issue, but it still is. So we have customers from way too many industries, and they are from different countries, different sizes. So for example, we have a customer with 10 people and a customer with 6,000 people, or a customer in Australia versus Europe.
How do you pick?
So how do I pick exactly? Like we have like 15 verticals to choose from.
Which one gives you most money per user? Average
Per
revenue
user,
per user.
by far the SMEs, but they're also willing to pay much more per user. But yeah, the thing is, we have like university levels, retailing customers.
I don't know. Like if it depends. Like first of all, which ones do you like more? Which ones do you like more working with? Number one. Number two, what is the average revenue per user by each segment? And number three, most importantly, in terms of cash flow, which is the fastest sales cycle, but in comparison to the actual average revenue per user. So if a sales cycle for a user that takes, let's say a customer brings in $10,000 and it takes 10 months to close. And another customer brings in $500, but it takes like 2 weeks to close. That's the clear choice because you're going to close a lot more customers with $500 than just taking 10 months to actually close one customer for $10,000. But it also depends on the churn. So is that big customer normally stickier than the smaller customer?
We're still validating such.
But yeah, let's just pick one or two, I think. The most valuable customers. a lot of B2B companies actually go through this step. They always start with the small ticket customers, but then they upgrade to actually the large ticket customers, because it's a lot more worth it from the sales team perspective to actually go after the big customers.
Yeah,
Because the money you spend acquiring the customers is normally the same, so it actually compensates the larger ticket ones.
I think it's already a piece of advice. Please.
As long as your LTV is above your customer acquisition cost, that's it, right?
Yeah, we are still very early stage. Like, we are 3 people, yes, it's very difficult to measure that. But yeah, that's already a few good tips.
Okay.
Thanks.
Just doing some translations. LTV means the
lifetime value.
of the customer.
So the average amount that your customer gives you. So imagine a customer, I'm selling pens, okay? Actually, I'm selling bottles of water. And I sell 2 bottles of water to him every year. So that's €2. This customer is worth for me €2. And I sell him 100 bottles of water per year. So this customer is worth €100. So I want customers like him.
Yeah, can you tell us about the transition from Headlander to Soundbites? I think it was quite interesting how you...
Yeah, but I was there alone. Like it was a completely different.
No, but it was really interesting how you realized people were looking for education.
Oh God, how was it? So basically, you're asking me to tell me the whole story since the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
But fast.
Fast. So I graduated in computer science in the UK, and my dad had some businesses in Brazil. And after I finished university, I went to Brazil to help him out for 1 year. I didn't do shit, believe me. But most importantly, I wasn't really passionate about the construction business. So I said, Dad, I want to do something on my own. And okay, you're on your own. So I arrived in Portugal on January 13th, 2013. And I went to this, I didn't know anything about startups. So I went to this startup event called Fábrica de Startups. I don't know if you heard. Yeah. And this was my first interaction with startups ever. And I went there, and with the expectation of actually meeting some co-founders to actually start a new company. And I got out of the event extremely unsatisfied because the event didn't do what it was supposed to do, which was network people and actually make a co-founder meet another co-founder. So that was actually my first business idea ever, which was Startup Cogs. Worst name ever, because of the second word. And so I started doing that, but I immediately realized I was not passionate enough about that subject. So that was my actually theoretical first failure, because I lacked passion about that company. So I didn't want to give up, and so I asked myself, what was what was I really passionate besides creating stuff? And it was music. And one of the problems I had back then when I was a hobbyist music producer was actually launching music and actually getting people to listen to it and actually pay for it. So the second concept was called Headblender. And Headblender was a very shitty platform that basically you uploaded the music, uploaded your song, and only when 100 people liked that song preview, it would get released into the world. Yeah. And I got 700 signups after a press release, and I thought I was on a roll. But it took me 3 months to realize that there was no money to be made in that industry. So I actually started to talk to a lot of musicians, and that's when I learned that education was a big thing. Most of musicians actually spend a lot of time around education. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, what I remember from being close to you at the time is that definitely was a lot of noise around people liking and having, but nobody was willing to pay for using the system or for getting the music. persons, I'm looking to get to receive feedback about my songs.
Yeah. So that was
more than delivering, I want to receive feedback. And
Yes.
that was like
that's how Songvice was born. The problem is I didn't validate again if customers would be willing to pay for that service. Because musicians expect a lot of things for free because they have everything for freely available on the internet, YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify. But in terms of education, they already had education for free on YouTube, and that was something like I didn't really fully understand. So yes, I think the biggest advice I can give you is try to look for a business model that gives you money since day one, and don't procrastinate.
Can we go back in time and see the case study from ConvertKit?
Yeah.
Because actually I got the same challenge of ConvertKit, but on an early stage. So we are only 6, we are not yet 10 or 20 as you said, and we are not doing 1 million per month or neither per year, but we get some customers. We do social media management, by the way.
Cool.
So we are a platform when every social media can, instead of have tons of tabs open, only one, and be like super productive on it. And we don't want to be another Hootsuite or another Buffer. We want to be like social media best buddy. And well, we talk a little bit about this case study.
So they're really amazing, and they actually started out by selling courses.
Mm-hmm.
So Nathan Berry started out by selling books and courses about authorship. So how to write your own blog, how to write your own book, whatever.
Mhm.
So they actually started out with an infotainment product, which converted into a SaaS platform. And why I think it worked so well is, number one, they positioned themselves as being the thought leaders on that specific field.
Mhm.
So they know a lot about blogging. And number two, they ignored, so the platform itself is extremely simple.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of features. There's like 2 features. You cannot send HTML emails. You can only send text emails
Mhm.
and can only do automations. So automations like if a subscriber shows up from whatever form, it sends you this email. If it doesn't, it sends you another email. That's it.
Because they found a niche, like people who don't have time or don't have too much time to discover a MailChimp, for instance.
MailChimp has too many features.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So you have to invest a lot of your time
Exactly.
to be like,
So, and they found out that bloggers only wanted a sign-up form to put.
yeah, they solved the problem.
Yeah.
True.
But it was a long time for them to actually nail this. Like they took. This chart is interesting. I'm missing the chart here. Huh. Yeah, I'm definitely missing a slide. So there was a slide here that I divided this revenue here into 2. Before product market fit and after product market fit.
Mm-hmm.
Before, it took them exactly the same time to get to 0 to 5,000
Mm-hmm.
than it took from 5 to 1 million. So, and what they were doing before was they were trying to do everything that MailChimp did
Mm-hmm.
instead of just focusing on that specific thing.
Mhm.
Because by focusing on one specific niche, you know exactly the people you need to talk to in direct sales. So they ignored completely the content marketing approach and just actually cold calling every single blogger they knew. And actually asked them the first time, so what features do you really value?
Mm-hmm.
And they did this like for 150 people. And only when they really realized they scrapped 90% of the
And
features
optimize the platform.
and optimize it completely for
And
bloggers.
everyone follows about it.
So because bloggers, because it's such a small community, it's not that small, but it's big enough. They talked to each other, and after the first 100 bloggers were happy,
Yeah, the other will follow.
they started talking to the other bloggers. This is something MailChimp cannot never do again because
No, actually, if you want to like manage like a real nice MailChimp, you have to invest your time to
Yeah.
understand everything, segment every list, blah blah blah.
and they're more expensive than MailChimp.
They are.
Yeah, like in the beginning because MailChimp gives you 2,000 emails per month.
Mm-hmm.
This you have immediately start paying $29 per month, and that gives you 1,000 subscribers, and then it goes 99 and then 199.
Yeah, but for the consumer perspective, you are solving a problem.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah.
I use ConvertKit, I don't use MailChimp. And the reason I use ConvertKit is because I don't have to spend a lot of time.
Is still playing tests on?
Yeah, it's enough. For what I have like my own really small blog, and I have my subscribe form there at the end of every blog post. People sign up, I have my simple automations going on, and it sends them a thank you email. It works. But I think like they had 3 things that they focused. One is focused on a niche, to teach everything you know. So they're all the full transparency kind of company. And number 3 was, yeah, keep the team small.
Yeah, a small team will be more focused on the small details.
It's easier to iterate, I think.
Just a small note about these guys. I already knew that.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe it's interesting for a lot of people out there because they use a software, I can't remember the name, but they use a software to keep all the SaaS information, like payments, recurring revenue. Barometrics.
Yeah, this is from Barometrics.
And they have all the numbers there, they are public. I think they are still...
They share all the revenue to the
You
public.
should go to that, whoever is interested in the subject should go and see not only ConvertKit but many other companies where you can drill down and see.
But ConvertKit is definitely the highest there.
Yeah, I know. That's why I saw these guys. So it's called Barometrics.
Barometrics.
Time for one last question, or even one last question, because it's already
How did you achieve product market fit?
so complex question. It's supposed to be me answering questions now. Listen to customers, talking to customers, listen to customers, reacting to what they say. So it's always like this. And by the way, if you're still not sure what is product market fit, don't worry, because nobody is really sure what is product market fit. But it's something that you just keep going. Okay? But in the end of the day, is talking to customers, listening to customers, and reacting fast. Thank you, Tiago.
Thank you.